What the world needs now, you've heard that. What the world needs now is love, okay. What the world needs now is love and power. Both of them together, love and power, that'll produce peace. What the world needs now is love and power. What the world needs now is aloha and mana, to put it more specifically and correctly. Because aloha and mana mean much more than what normal people usually mean by love and power. Aloha and mana, the Hawaiian words, they are part and parcel of each other. And I want to talk about one at a time here and why the world needs it and what we can do about it. Aloha means a lot of things. One of the meanings is, besides meaning love and all the regular connotations we have of that, it means to be happy with. Alo means to share an experience, to be with. And oha means joy, thriving, lush, wonderful happiness. The essence of love, the real essence of love in the Huna teaching, is a happy relationship. That's what the essence of love is. When you're talking about love, you're automatically talking about a relationship. It's a relationship with a person, with someone, or with something. It can be a relationship with your body. It can be a relationship with your environment. It can be a relationship with God. It can be a relationship with goals. It can be a relationship with anything, but a relationship is implied when we talk about love. And in Huna terms, when we're talking about love, we're talking about a happy relationship. It's in the word itself. Again, in Huna terms, there's no such thing as the suffering of love. That's just contradiction in terms. Doesn't happen. If there's suffering, then what's happening is something else along with the love. There may be love there, but it's not the love that's producing the suffering. It's a lot of other ideas and things. Love automatically implies happiness. The essence of love is to be happy in a relationship, to have a happy relationship. Well, what this means, when you stop to think about it, is that if you increase happiness, this is equal to increasing love. So how do we increase love in the world? A lot of people have wondered, not by being superficially nice to people and doing nice things to people, but by increasing the happiness in the world, increasing our own happiness. The happier we are with more things and people, increasing the happiness in the world and increasing the happiness that we can share with others. In other words, helping other people to be happy. I will be attempting to avoid a very common English phrase, which is to make somebody happy, or even to make yourself happy, or even the idea that something else makes you happy, because it doesn't operate like that. Not really. We use the words and it's part of our conversation, but it's misleading, because the happiness is made within us. Now, we can do certain things that will increase our happiness. Sure. I've got favorite things that I do. And when I do those, I'm happier than when I'm not doing them. So those with things we can increase our happiness, but they don't make us happy. We make us happy. You can't make another person happy. You can do something and they'll decide to be happy about it. But don't get mixed up and think that you're making them happy. But by increasing your own happiness in the world, by being happier more of the time, the people around you will tend to be happier. And the people even passing down by the street will feel a little tingle or a glow when you walk by. Won't necessarily know where it came from. Great, give it away free. That's all right, it doesn't matter where it comes from. But they'll feel it. They'll feel it. So the way we can love the world is to be happy with it. Now, some people are going to think, well, does that mean being happy with the poverty and being happy with the crimes and being happy with all the terrible things, wars and all that? Of course not. That would just be silly. It's possible to be happy with those, but I don't recommend it. The idea here is you're happy with the world. You don't have to be happy with particular or specific behavior or conditions. All right? But if what you're doing is going after those conditions and putting all your attention on those conditions with the best will in the world, you're helping to maintain them. Now, I'm not saying ignore them. It's important to be aware of these things, but be happy with something to replace them with. It's going to give more effect. The happier that you can be, and the happier you can help others to be, the easier it's going to be to change things. Yes?
Does that mean that people who are vociferously demonstrating their will in demonstrations or something, or what about it not the best possible way?
No, sometimes it is important to stand up and assert yourself and let people know what you don't like. That's a strong position. So I'm not saying that these people who are demonstrating, let's say, against nuclear weapons, for instance, are doing wrong. No. What matters, however, is the motivations of the individuals involved.
Well,
that's what matters, okay? That's where the real, well, here's the thing. If those people are really happy about peace, then they're going to have a much better effect when they're demonstrating, about these things.
But they're not. They're fearful.
Well, depends. Some of them are.
Yeah, the ones I've met.
Okay. The ones who are very fearful are not helping it a lot. And the ones who are going about trying to increase the fear are not helping it a lot. The ones who are going about and trying to increase the happiness of getting together and feeling that we can do something workable. I know some who are working on this level. They are firmly against nuclear weapons, for instance, but they're trying to get people in a sense of power that they can do something, that there's something positive and constructive that can be done. And there are groups working like that too. Okay? And they're going to have a much greater effect than their numbers indicate. But no, whatever you're going about with fear increases the fear. Anytime you are acting out of fear, you increase your fear. And you help to maintain the thing that you do fear. But two people can be advocating getting rid of nuclear weapons, and the actual effect that they'll have will depend totally on their inner feelings and motivations about it. So yeah, even that kind of thing can be a very positive, upbuilding and lifting thing. But the more they can get together people in a sense of happiness together, get real happy together, and then go out in a real happy mood, go out and demonstrate, they're going to get a lot more done. That's right. That energy is far more powerful.
Could we use the Olympics as a chance to have happiness between all nations?
It's an opportunity. The Olympics can be used for that. There are some groups I know will be trying to do that, and I think it's a great idea. Okay? It doesn't, anything that you can do to help increase, of course, helping increase understanding puts down some of the barriers between people so that then you can begin to create happiness. Okay? Sometimes you have to make people, first of all, feel safe. Sometimes that's the very first step. That's why in one of our major meditations, the first thing we do and work on is peace, inner peace. And that inner peace in a group means peace between us too. Now that's the first step toward increasing loving, naturally. Then when you've got people feeling fairly safe with each other, then it's free to really open up that love and open up that happiness. So to increase the loving in your world, increase your happiness. Now it's a funny thing. It's amazing how few people realize this. It is very easy to decide to switch from unhappiness to happiness. That's easy. You can learn to do that in an instant. What's hard is convincing people they can do it. That's the only hard thing. It's easy to suddenly be happy. There is a switch, a turn of mind that you can make that turns your emotions with it, and you can shift right into happiness. Learning how to do that is not hard. Learning that you can do it may be difficult. Because so much of what we've been taught goes against it. So many people are going through life as reactors and not as actors. They're letting other people, or they're letting environment, or they're letting conditions and situations determine how they act and how they feel. And the thing to be learned is you have the power to decide how to think and what to think. Yes?
It's not just the power of positive thinking.
Well, it's more than the power of positive thinking. The power of positive thinking, it falls into that. The power of positive thinking, the way it's often taught or talked about, is usually considered to be, don't think anything negative. You know, don't allow any negative thoughts in. Okay, just think positive thoughts. Well, you can drive yourself up the wall and into an institution like that, because if you're suppressing and being afraid of and not trying to suppress and put down all negative thoughts and being afraid to look at them and not wanting to listen to anybody who's got one, and you're trying to put this shell up around you of just positive, 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 you're fooling yourself. And you'll know it that you're fooling yourself because you won't feel very good inside. You'll feel like you've got this happy mask on, and inside you'll have all this turmoil. And you wonder where that's coming from. Well, true positive thinking involves the ability to take a negative thought, look at it, laugh at it, and go on and just gently shift your attention to something more positive. It doesn't mean not having any negative thoughts. It means knowing what to do about them in a positive way. That's a big difference. Okay, good. Then that's positive thinking. Right. So you're not afraid of negative thoughts, but you know what to do with them when they come up. Right. So yes, very much so. So this happiness, some people get the sense well, before I go on to that, how do you shift your mind? How do you shift so that you make this instant happiness? Everything that you feel comes from your thoughts. Everything. Your feelings are generated by your thoughts. Now, sometimes they're reinforced or regenerated by your actions. When you engage in an action that also stirs up feelings, but that's because of memory. Basically, it's your thoughts that determine your feelings, and that's a real easy test you can do for yourself. All you have to do is sit down sometime and think of an unpleasant memory and pay attention how your body begins to feel after about a minute, and then shift to a pleasant memory, and you'll discover instantly your body will begin to feel better and feel good, because it will follow what you've been thinking about. A lot of people who say that they've tried to think positive, think nice, pleasant thoughts all the time, don't know what they're talking about. I've worked with a lot of these people, and they find it difficult when we're really working, really examining their thoughts, to maintain positive thinking for a minute. Well, if you can't do that consistently, then you can't keep consistent positive feelings. So it takes a little bit of training out of the old habit of thinking of things in a negative way. We have a society that encourages it, negative thinking. So it's really a discipline, spiritual discipline, to learn how to think and look at things and act and react in a positive way on purpose. But you've got the power to decide how to think, and that's why you can do it. You have the power at any moment to be aware of where you're at and what you're doing and do something different. And it doesn't take any effort. You don't have to struggle with your muscles. You don't have to push against the bad stuff and twist your attention away. You don't have to do any of that. It's as simple as looking to your left or your right. That's all. A shift of attention. And the rest of the process takes care of itself. Now, sometimes when habits are strong, it may not be quite as easy as I make it sound right here. The process is simple again, but not always easy. But with persistence, persistently returning to a positive thought, to a pleasant thought, to a positive attitude or outlook of the present situation, or to something completely different, persistently doing that, you'll learn how you feel when you're happy. You'll learn how to return to that feeling instantly. And in any situation, you just have to recall it, shift your attention, and get in a happy mood. And you build up your happy mood, and then you go back to whatever you're dealing with, and find you'll be able to take care of it so much more easily, no matter what it is. Now, the thing I was going to talk about before, a lot of people with very good intentions form in groups to send out love to the world. But often, they're really not sure what they're doing. I mean, they're sending out love, they're sending out a word, they're imagining a pink cloud going up there, and some of them are simply imagining everybody being happy and doing nice things. And that's okay as far as it goes. Nothing wrong with that at all. But to have some real effect, get happy first. get really deliriously fun, bubbling happy first and send happiness out. Now you've got this real strong, powerful energy going. Now the people on the other end are going to receive something much more definite and beneficial than a vague thought of love. When you realize that love has the component of happiness as the main feeling associated with it, then it's much easier to send out a feeling, because a feeling is energy itself. Another aspect to talk about here on that is the idea of love and service. Now, love and service often go together, but they are not the same thing, any more than love and sex are. You can have sex without love, you can have service without love. If it's loving service is happy service. You know it's loving service when you're happy doing it. If you're not happy doing it, it isn't loving service, no matter what label you want to call it. No matter what kind of activity it is. If you're not happy doing it, it's not loving service. It might be duty service, it might be fear service, it might be greed service. Greed service is when you demand a return, even if that return is a thank you. Okay? Yeah, in loving service, you're doing it because you're happy doing it. Doing something for somebody. Anything you're doing for somebody, that's service. So, you know that it's loving service you're engaged in if you're happy doing it. If you're feeling resentful, then it's not loving service. What matters, if you're trying to build up people and their feelings and their happiness and increase love in the world, give them loving service or don't bother. Unless there's, some particular thing that you've got to do for some other result that you want, but don't call it loving service. Now, some people, how do you serve God? People have brought this up. And one person said, well, God doesn't need any help in running the universe. I said, well, when you're serving God, you're not helping him run the universe. Okay? You do that just by existing. How do you serve God? Well, loving service is happy service. So being happy in whatever you do seems to me to be the way to serve God. In a loving way, then whatever you're doing, be happy doing it. And the happier you can be, the more you can increase your happiness, the more loving it is. Now, if you want to designate particular kinds of work as God work and other kinds of work as not God work, that's up to you, of course. But when you're doing your God work, be happy doing it. Then it counts. Now, I said love and power, aloha and mana, go together. All right. Mana. Power is really what it means. Okay? The essence of power is directed energy. Not just energy, because the whole universe is energy. The essence of power is directed energy. Now that holds true whether the power we're talking about is a person in authority getting people to do things, that's very directed energy, or whether it's electricity going through a conduit, or whether it's a person healing themselves or someone else helping them to heal. Whatever it is, power is directed energy. So, you increase power by increasing energy. Naturally, you've got the directed thoughts. We're assuming that you've got the directed thoughts there. So the way to increase the power of those directed thoughts is to increase the energy available. How do you increase the energy? Well, being happy increases energy. Ta-da! They just kind of go together very much like that. Increasing energy in a directed way increases happiness too. A lot of people, some people have said, you can be real energetic and not be happy. I'm not talking about being real energetic. I'm talking about having real, pure, directed energy. The more pure, by pure I mean not distracted by doubt or confusion or disbelief or anything like that. The more purely directed the energy is in whatever endeavor, in whatever thing it is, the more focused your concentration on it without any extraneous stuff, the happier you'll find yourself being. And when you do this in deep meditation, it is bliss. But not just in deep meditation. It can be doing a scientific mathematical calculation. It can be constructing a house. It can be even watching a program or reading a book. If you're doing it with your full attention, happiness occurs. And funny enough, when you're being really happy, focused attention occurs. It does. It becomes so much easier to focus your attention on whatever. They do interchange. They two go together. Now, I said you can increase power by increasing energy. Increasing happiness is one way of increasing energy. But even with the directed thinking, building up enthusiasm, which is another thing like getting happy, you can learn how to shift your mind into an enthusiastic kind of position. You know, it's almost like you become how an actor does. Well, a good, true actor becomes the part, isn't doing a surface kind of thing. There are actors who do surface kinds of things and can fool a lot of people. But the one that you can tell where it's coming from the heart is the one that just immediately shifts right into the role, right into the feeling. Anybody can do that. You shift back and forth with feelings all the time. You're great actors, all of you. You just didn't know it. You can learn how to shift instantly into enthusiasm. A lot of people resist that. They don't want to look foolish. They don't want to be criticized for it. A lot of little things like that they may have been criticized for being too spontaneous as a child or something like that. And so there's a little reluctance sometimes, but it can be done very quickly and easily and instantly. So building that kind of thing up increases your energy too. And you can also use mono devices. You can use things that have natural energy sources, like pyramids. And pyramids is a natural energy source because the pyramid and the mono devices that I make, all of those things are natural energy sources because they take the ambient energy from the atmosphere and focus it and generate it and increase it. And you can use those things to increase your energy, but those things work best when you're also at the same time increasing your happiness as well as your directed thinking. Wow, then you've got real power going. So increasing these kinds of things that are available, crystals, there's lots of natural sources that can be done, that can be used to increase your environmental energy, your biocompatible energy. There's a neat one. Okay. So yes, and there is a symbol for this Aloha mana. Actually, we can say Aloha mana Pono. Aloha is love, like we've been talking about. Mana is the power, like we've been talking about. Pono is making it work. Be translated as success, but the success of love and power. In English, you can translate it any way you want. In Hawaiian, we could talk about it for days. Okay? At any rate, there is a symbol. We call it the Eye of Konaloa. It's not drawn very well here, but that's even there. If you look at it, and you're at all sensitive to the energy, you can feel the radiation from it. What it does, as a pattern, as an energy pattern, is it takes ambient energy and focuses it and channels it. Now, the reason I'm drawing it here, you can draw it on a piece of paper or on something like that, on the wall, on a poster, and we're going to make some of these available anyway, and increase the energy in your environment. And if you're happy at the same time and thinking good, positive thoughts, that energy takes on that kind of programming. This is directed, programmed energy. But the beautiful thing about this symbol is you can imagine that symbol and create the same effects. It's an easy enough symbol to imagine, but you can imagine that symbol and create the same kinds of effects. So, what can we do? You can direct that symbol if you want to. If you understand how to do this, imagine it going out and energy flowing out with it toward another person. You can give that symbol a color or something like that. And all of the happiness and directed thought and power that you're transferring to that person will be greatly amplified. You can just project that symbol around you as you walk down the street, and the ordinary, normal happiness or whatever else you're putting out will be amplified. We can all gather together as a joint project and imagine that symbol real huge over Los Angeles or other cities, okay, and project some nice happiness energy down on the city and produce an effect on the city. And I firmly believe we need to do this on a consistent basis, but my insight tells me that we can affect the pollution in a positive way by doing that. But having this and similar things in different forms, both in your imagination and in physical devices, we can raise the energy level of the planet and the quality of that energy. So not just the amount of energy, but the quality, let's say the vibration of it. Happiness is a high vibration. Unhappiness is a low vibration. It's a slow vibration. That's why it hurts. Okay? There's your energy trying to flow through you, and this unhappiness is slowing everything down until it's getting almost physical and trying to push its way through your body. It hurts. Happiness just flows through so easy and lifts you up, and you get enough happiness and you'll float. Okay? We need to think about creating these two things in the world, in our own personal world, inside in our personal world, around us, and in the outer world that we all share. The world needs more happiness. We owe it to ourselves to be raving happy, and we owe it to the world. And the world needs more energy. And so it needs this more energy, this more abundant energy, and this abundant happiness. And what we'll have is abundant life, as was promised. Aloha.